analyzing binaural beats and reversing seizures. My name is William Perkins.
I'm Morgan Brown. I'm Emma Maxey. I'm living in Dortmund. One-third of adults are tolerant to anti-epileptic drugs, which basically means that those anti-epilepsy drugs don't work on them, which means that it's pretty important to find a new source of medication and treatment for those one-third of adults who can't take that medicine. This led us to the question, how does listening to binaural beats for 2 10-minute intervals per day affect the frequency of seizures in drug-tolerant epileptic patients over 4 months? So this led us to have a question in mind. And so we hypothesized that the frequency of seizures will reduce with the introduction of binaural beats. And we proposed that the brain waves will be able to synchronize to the theta waves that we will, theta beats that we will introduce and direct the mind on a long-term basis. Thus, the minimum seizure threshold will not be met as the brain will naturally be relaxed when seizure-inducing stimuli is present. Just a quick rundown of what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be talking about what binaural beats are, how music influences the brain, how binaural beats influence brain waves, anti-epileptic medication and why some people choose not to take them, EEG devices, and finally, why are we taking this research proposal with So one of the most important aspects of this research is what are binaural beats. So binaural beats are classified as an auditory illusion where you have 2 tones, one tone that's different in each ear, and it is classified as under 1,000 hertz, and the tone difference between them is going to be 30 hertz. So it's actually quite interesting as scientists have learned how to manipulate the frequencies of the hertz, so it can influence the 5 different brain waves. Specifically, we'll be exploring the theta waves. So one interesting aspect also is that how it affects the brain, areas of the brain. So it begins in the inferior brainstem and moves to the superior of the nuclei, and follows through the reticular formation to the thalamus, auditory cortex, and similar cortical regions.
So what are these brainwaves? So brainwaves are generally synthesized natural process that come from your brain, like ears, neurons interact with each other. And the way how we measure brainwaves is through something called hertz. And therefore categorize them into 5 hertz. They're delta, delta, beta, alpha, gamma waves. With delta is the lowest frequency, and gamma and high frequency. And really important to focus today is the setup. That is what binaural beats do too. So what is setup? It's basically it does mental efficiency, daydreaming, and disordinary frequency. In other words, they're actually very related to relaxation. Right? And actually, one really interesting study from Dr. Malum in 2018. So he says that the set of waves actually inhibit your brain's hyper-excitability. And seizures, epileptic seizures, actually count as one of the hyper-excitabilities. Because if your neurons go crazy, they're fine now.
So when discussing music and its connectivity to the brainwaves, scientists have discovered that music activates the prefrontal cortex, critical areas which are associated in supporting executive functions. With the introduction of music, it has been shown to produce a common effect and reduce anxiety, amongst other effects such as reducing blood pressures, pain, and reducing REM-type state. Not to mention the hippocampus, amygdala, and thalamus are all included in the effects music has on the brain and its effects on
EEG is used to detect electric activity. The way we use it is that we use little it's like into your brain. It's not only EEG, it's different ways. I'm going to do the lesson of the brain and the brain. And I remember from the way Converter was the first computer to the EEG in 1924.
Okay, so 25% of the epileptic patients will have tolerance to epileptic medication, and up to 20 to 70 patients deviate from the regular medication schedule and decide not to take the medication because of the negative side effects it has on them. like skin rashes, blisters, or sores on their skin or in their mouth. Cognitive problems like problems with memory, concentration, poor coordination, balance, and other behavioral disorders. Movement disorders like tremors or dystonia, and serious drop in the number of white blood cells in the body, which can cause sickness, nausea, and then there's this infographic of people who are children and adults who are drug intolerant and who are not drug intolerant. 75% compared to 25% and 67% compared to 30%.
So some significance and benefits about binaural beats in general. Firstly, they're very accessible. Most people nowadays have access to a device that you can listen to music on, headphones, and a Tunes Plus.
And secondly, they're pretty cost effective as listening to binaural beats at home, really, you won't have to spend money on buying medication for the patient, and yeah.
Also, they're very minimally invasive. Well, they're not all, because they don't actually go inside you, so there are no risks to where they would, affect you.
And also there's a lesser disruption in the daily lives of these patients with using binaural beats because although taking a pill takes a significantly less amount of time than listening to binaural beats for like 10 minutes, the side effects of these medications will last throughout the day and make the patients uncomfortable. And opposite to this, listening to binaural beats for just 10 minutes a day will have positive prolonged effects throughout the day. And this means that the patients will be able to manage their symptoms in a more comfortable way.
Now let's go to the part on how do we conduct actual experiments. The first day we're going to have 25 drug tolerant patients. Why? Because during the treatment we don't really want them to take any medication to interfere with our results. We don't look at how binaural beats affect the brain. And throughout the course of the study, we're going to have 8 months. First day, the 4 months control. In this 4 months control, patients are expected not to take any medication, not taking treatment, also binaural beats. And hopefully they can actually record the number of seizures they had, and also possibly the time duration of the seizures. And then for the next 4 months, for the next 4 months experiment is the treatment, which we actually apply to binaural beats. And the way how we do it is actually we're going to do 10 minutes twice per day and through the entire treatment period. And after we collect the data, we're going to have 3 separate tests. First, you come back to the frequency of seizures. Second, you divide it into EEG. And then we'll study the time duration of seizures.
Okay, so now we're going to get into the variables. So our control variables are going to be no medicine, like as Tom stated. We want to not let our results be a little skewed, and we also don't want to ask our subjects to stop taking their seizure medicine. What else we're going to try to control is the same frequency of the binaural beats that they're listening to. So we're going to have them all listen to the same frequency of those beats. And then while talking about control, we also did want to mention, because binaural beats are stimulators, that we can't control that brainwave that we bring them to is going to stay throughout the entire day. Because, for example, if you're sleeping, you'll probably be in theta wave. But as we all know, if a fire alarm goes off, it's pretty likely for that brainwave to change. And that isn't something we intend to or expect to control in our subjects. That brings us to our independent variable. It's going to be the binaural beats. And that is going to be controlling our dependent variables. We intend to have 3 different dependent variables, which means we're going to be collecting 3 different sets of data using 3 different tests. However, we want these tests to run simultaneously to make it a little easier on us. So one of the dependent variables is going to be the number of frequency for seizures, the EEG, and the second one is the EEG levels, and the third one is the length of seizures.
And now let's talk about test 1. So both the control and the givens are the number of seizures happening. And what we're doing is actually doing a compare the seizures happening in the 4 months control and the seizures happening in the treatment period to see whether it's easier and the step is go different. And now this brings us to test 2, where actually we're going to let patients go to the lab and take EEG during the treatment period. And But doing this, we're going to have a 30 minutes interval, and we're going to split them into 3 sections. The first section is going to measure EEG before they listen to binaural beats for 10 minutes. Then we're going to measure EEG while they're hearing binaural beats, and lastly, we're going to do it after they hear binaural beats.
The third test we're going to run is the time duration of the seizures. As Tom mentioned in a few slides before, our control period consists of 4 months where we don't have them listen to binaural beats. During those 4 months, we're going to ask them to time their seizures to the best of their ability. We're also going to ask them if they have another person around them during that seizure to please ask them to time it, because it is going to be hard to get an exact time of that seizure. And then during our trial period, we're also going to look at those times, compare them to see if the difference is pretty significant. So this is what we expect our results to look like on the first test. So we made a graph of what we think it will look like. And we're also going to look at the data per patient. Because epilepsy is so widespread, somebody could have seizures 6 times in a period of 4 months, or they could just have it more. So we're not going to pool all of our data. As you can see on our chart, we're only going to compare like patient 1 to patient 1, patient 2 to patient 2, etc. So we expect during the control arm, we're going to have higher levels of seizures than we will in the experimental one.
And for a second one, it's really hard to make a graph to the EEG levels, but based on this, we have some conclusions we can draw, or some predictions we can do. So firstly, since the first period of test of EEG, they're not hearing any binaural beats or getting theta waves, so we can expect them to have a little bit more amplitudes of their rhythms, to be a little more overexcited. Then during the binaural beats, we expect them to binaural beat, like the wave to decrease a bit, because the theta waves actually contributing to calm the relaxation. Finally, after that, although the binaural beats already ended, but still we hope that the binaural beats can actually contribute to relaxation even after and without actually actively listening to them. So it should be a little bit higher than the second one, but definitely more than the first one.
Our anticipated results for the third test, we assume that the length of time for the seizure is going to decrease, and we hope that it will decrease. As I mentioned in the first test, we will do it per patient, so we assume the time will decrease from the control period to the experimental period.
Okay. Obviously, there are some limitations, and unfortunately, there's no. So we're going to be letting our participants listen to binaural beats at home every day, but that doesn't really make it very reliable because we don't know if they're going to be listening to the full duration, or if they're going to be focused while they're listening, because you have to be able to sit down and consciously listen to those sounds for them to actually work. The second thing that could possibly be a limitation is like emergencies. So we're planning on having our participants come into the lab once every 2 weeks to get the EEGs done. It should take around only 30 minutes, but unfortunately some people have emergencies, they have to travel, they get sick, and if they can't come in during that week, then obviously our results are going to be prolonged and then we have that for binaural beats with sometimes triggers seizures, unfortunately, based on the frequency they're at. And also our time and sample size aren't very full. Our sample size is only around 25, which unfortunately is very large, but we don't want to force people to not take the medication. And our time, it takes around 30 minutes for each person, and so 25 people would probably do 5 every day throughout the week, and that would be around 2.5 hours every single day. And then finally, external factors like things like emotional stress or like sleeping or waking up. So we can't really control how the brain waves change throughout the day, and so even if there is a possibility that binaural waves can make your brain go into that theta state or a low brainwave state for a while, we don't know how long that will last based on different factors.
Okay, so as Maddie said, one ethical factor or consideration is that people may think that we're kind of harming the patients by not allowing them to use any form of medication, but we're only going to ask drug-resistant epilepsy patients to participate in the study, first of all. And yes, this also leads on to the next legal consideration, which we know that we must include an informed consent form where we are clearly stating that they'll be restricted from taking medication, so it'll be completely voluntary for the patient. And thirdly, one social consideration is that there's not a substantial amount of research showing how epilepsies relate to binaural beats. So patients may be a little fearful of kind of trusting that binaural beats will prevent seizures, and this might make them want to stay home more in fear that they'll get a seizure because they don't know if this will actually really help them or not. And yeah, this just leads into their self-esteem, fear of.
So in conclusion, based on all our research for this proposal, we're looking at these individuals to change the frequency of brainwaves and hopefully bring them down to a more relaxed state in order to slow down, potentially stop, or even just help epileptic patients with seizures instead of having to take epileptics and deal with side effects.
Just great all over. So the other thing, I mean, there's a lot of little things you can build into it, certainly in terms of what is the actual frequency of the binaural beat. So you sort of work outside of the range that's been shown to possibly induce seizure, that's one. The other variable you might want to throw in there is the interseizure interval. So in other words, if you're having a seizure one every day, if they have binaural beats on board, are they going to twice a week? And that's significant. The other thing to consider is individuals who are drug resistant with the addition of the binaural beats may then become drug responsive. So it has a lot of cool stuff built into it that you sort of didn't consider, but that makes the proposal actually quite brilliant. So that if I were going to be the funding person, I'd be like, well, yeah, you just modify some of the things they're looking at, but give them the money to look at it, which actually would allow you to get even more money if it were going to be funded. So overall, super stellar, great job, well done. Monica, what'd you think?
I thought it was really a great concept, and I was really impressed with the fact that you put so much thought into it. What an exciting research proposal. If I was listening to this, I would urge my team to really take a look at this stuff. Very good. Great job.
Faye.
I honestly felt like you guys were a group of well-specialized clinicians who were pitching a proposal to me, and you knew what you were talking about, you knew how to deliver it, you knew how to sell it, and especially with this patient population, this is a huge problem that a lot of patients with epilepsy have to face, and the fact that it has really dangerous implications when someone is drug resistant to anti-epileptics. I was just really in awe of how professional and well organized you guys were. So great job.
Rach.
Guys, this was very professionally well done. It was well thought out. It was well executed. I'm really proud of you guys. I think there was, the only things I wrote down were nitpicky because you just had everything else there. I echo what Jim said. This is a really excellent pilot study. It's a perfect pilot study. So this is the kind of study that you get a little bit of money from your academic department to get the preliminary data. You basically show that there's an effect, you show that it's viable, and then you can propose the bigger research grant in order to do, some of the more in-depth stuff. The one thing is that I think I would have expected the theta amplitude to increase with the binaural beats, and you were saying decrease? Just one?
Oh, we meant decrease from a different wave to the theta.
Okay. So the spectral frequency would decrease towards theta. Okay. Yeah, so that's just a phrasing. That's just a phrasing thing then. But what it was really realistic. It was just a realistically done real world study that I listen to binaural beats every single morning. It's my preferred meditation way, and so I want to see this study done. I have a particular geek interest in EEG and this, so great topic.
And the way you can get around that subtle ambiguity is you use the word theta induction. In other words, can binaural beats induce theta? That's cool. But it's there. You had it. You just have to bring it home. John, what do you think?
Oh, agreed, the scientific value is there. Let me circle back to the presentation. When you've got half the presentation, half the slides, the necessary background, and half of it solidly explaining the protocols, explaining the anticipated results, you've got a concise, well-designed experiment here, so that if any unusual data shows up, you'll be able to spot that too. That's why it's such a great pilot opportunity. So very well done.
Bravo.